Conservation Commission for Chelmsford to order, 7 o'clock. I'll note for all of you that this meeting is being recorded as well as taken minutes by our erstwhile secretary. Is there anything to come before the Conservation Commission this evening that's not on the agenda? Hearing none. The first item on the agenda is a continuance of the regulatory hearing for a abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, otherwise known as an ANRAD, for 10 Hildreth Street for a wetland resource area determination. You all received a packet of information from Hancock, which put more information on various maps, also took the original map that we had and broke it up into 4 different handouts, much easier to read. Katie, is there anything else that we require from them at this point?
Not plan-wise.
Okay.
Just go over the site walk findings.
Okay, all of us attended a site walk last Saturday. I think all of us did. Yeah. Do any of the members have any questions or want to discuss any of the findings on the site walk with the applicant? Does the applicant want to add any information to the filing? Okay, are there any questions or comments from the audience on the area notice of resource area delineation for 10 Hildreth? If you want to ask a question, could you tell us your name and address, please? Hearing none. I'll entertain a motion to issue an ANRAD for 10 Hildreth Street as presented to us with the changes.
It'll be an ORAD.
An ORAD, not an ANRAD?
Yeah, an order. It'll be an order.
Oh, the notice becomes an order. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Chris, can I have that motion, please?
So moved, Dave.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chris Tamula. Is there any discussion?
Oh, it looks like one, Dave.
Who? Oh, I asked it. Who wants to?
They're muted. I don't think they know they're muted. I'll unmute them.
Thank you. I got it. I just wanted, thank you for listening. I just wanted a brief synopsis.
I'm sorry. Can I have your name and address again, please?
It's Linda and Jeff Carney at 17 Hildreth Street.
Yes, ma'am.
And I am inquiring as to whether the changes that have been made are going to be delineated tonight, or if we could get a synopsis of those changes before the vote is taken.
I don't believe the applicant made any changes to the original submission from 2 weeks ago. I believe what the applicant has done is they have elaborated and they have given us maps that are more indicative of what's on the site rather than putting them on one map that was very confusing to read. Is that correct? That's a question of the applicant. I don't believe you've added any other, I don't believe you've moved any resource delineations or wetland delineation or any of that stuff. Is that correct?
That's correct. So just to summarize what we've done since the prior hearing was we held the site walk with the Conservation Commission. We submitted Mass DEP data forms per Mass DEP's request supporting our delineation. We split the plan into 3 separate plans, demarcating the 3 different resource areas, riverfront area, floodplain, and bordering vegetated wetland, so that they're more legible. The only plan change that you may note is that in our initial plan set, we had digitized the FEMA mapped floodplain. In our revised set, it's more accurate now, that it's demarcated based on surveyed elevation, rather than digitized. So there hasn't really been any substantive changes. I think that summarizes, it's primarily been additional information submittals.
Thank you, thank you. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Yes, it did. I just wanted a confirmation that there are no significant changes to those lines as drawn by the state. Is
Okay.
that correct, Katie?
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you.
Katie, how long is this ORAD good for? 3 years?
3 years. And when you vote, you should vote to put language in to approve the wetland resource areas as shown on the plans dated 1/11/21. That language will have to go in the vote.
Okay. Chris,
So
is that all
moved,
right with,
So
is
moved.
that all right with your motion? Okay.
Yep.
Good.
So moved. That's included.
Are there any other questions or comments from the audience? Hearing none. All in favor of issuing an ORAD for 10 Hildreth Street, please say aye.
Sorry, my father couldn't get himself off mute. He has a question before you vote.
All right, slow down, slow down. So we got plenty of time. Go ahead, sir. Can I have your
Sorry
name
about
for
that.
Can I have
My
your
name-
name for that?
My name is Bob Goff here, and I'm at 22 Hildreth.
Yes, sir.
Now, the question I have is, having looked at the maps and observed you guys a week and a half ago when you site walked that Saturday morning. The question I have is, how far away from these lines of various properties of wetland must any building be away from? I mean, how close can they come to that? Or how far do they have to stay away from it?
Well, let's start with the Chelmsford bylaws say that no building may be constructed within 50 feet of the wetlands.
Okay,
Depending on the activity on the site, the State Riverfront Protection Act may come into play, and that has 100-foot to 200-foot limit. Is that correct, Katie? Depends on the size of the project, I think. Also,
Right.
there is floodplain on this site that's denoted. And if the applicant chooses to construct in the floodplain, then alternate floodplain must be provided. So there are 3 or 4 different levels that come into play as the applicant proceeds. Now, we don't know what the applicant chooses to do with the site yet. So if it's going to be a single house, then it will be a different set of regulations. If it's going to be a subdivision, which is more than 3, 4, which is more than 3 or 4 houses, then it will be another set of regulations,
okay,
which will be more restrictive than a single house.
okay. Does your commission have anything to do, or can you just give me some information as to how far away from the power lines that they have to be?
Well, no, I think the easement for the power lines is dictated by the power company. I don't believe that they can construct under the power lines. They could probably construct, with approval of the power company, a road that went under the power lines. But buildings could not go under the power lines. And as to how far away, I can't answer that, sir.
Okay. And it may not be in your purview, but because that end of the road is still unaccepted by the town,
End of which road, sir?
that end of Hildreth Street.
The
Is
far
not
end the far end of Hildreth, not where we were, right?
No,
No,
where you were.
Okay, at the intersection with,
120
at the intersection
120
with Plum?
Right.
Oh, okay, all right.
From Plum Street all the way up to 129, Barica Road, whatever, okay, is considered unaccepted by the town. I don't know why, but that's what they tell me. does that have anything, does that have any effect on what any decisions you have to make or whatnot?
Not as far as conservation is concerned, sir. It might have some impact with the planning board,
Okay,
but not with conservation.
okay. I didn't think so, but I thought I'd ask.
Is that it, sir?
Yeah, I think so. I appreciate answering the questions,
Okay.
but thank
Can we
you.
get to the vote now? Are there any other comments or questions? Okay, all in favor of issuing the ORAD for 10 Hildreth? 10 Hildreth,
Can
10
we come in for a sec?
Sure can.
Thank you.
I do have a question. This is Kevin at 11 Hildreth.
Yeah.
Depending on what they go for on 10 Hildreth, whether it's a single family or you said maybe a small subdivision, has anyone done any research, or are they going to do any research on the traffic on the roads coming down Hildreth, considering it's basically one lane only, you cannot pass? Is that going to be into any type of consideration?
Not by the Conservation Commission, sir.
But if they,
It could. If it has to go before the planning board,
yep,
and here again, that would be determined by the nature and the size of the project, then I would think that they would ask, or the public would ask that question.
okay, but you were just saying that they could possibly put in a small subdivision.
I have no idea what they can put in there, nor do I know what plans they have.
Okay, well, I'm just going off of what you said, either a single family home or possibly.
Well, I'm just, what I wanted to do was to express, there's a range.
Okay.
The former gentleman asked a question, what regulations come into play? And
Okay.
my comment really was, they're different if it's single family than if it's multiple family. That's
Right,
all.
yeah, no, yeah, that's exactly what you did say. I was just, so it would go up further, you've said, in front of the planning board if they wanted to put a subdivision in, as far as a study on the street, as far as what they would have to do.
I don't know what would be required of the planning board.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Was there another question too?
Not from me.
No, I understand, sir, but was there somebody else speaking at the same time you were or not?
No, that was my wife.
Okay, I understand.
I was just making sure nothing went to vote yet. We had to come off mute.
All right.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll go to the vote now. The vote is to issue an ORAD for Hildreth Street. All in favor? Chris Garahan,
Aye.
Bill Vines,
Aye.
Chris Tamula,
Aye.
Mark Bischoff. I'm sorry, Carl Bischoff,
Aye.
Mark Gibbs,
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin, aye. Done. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for your attention to this matter. We appreciate it.
Next item on the agenda is, I'm sorry?
I was just saying thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Next item on the agenda is a notice of intent new for 1 University Lane. Chris, can you read the notice?
Sure,
Hey,
Dave.
Dave.
I've got the legal notice.
Can we table this? Brian Melissi has another meeting at 7. He said it'll be a little late.
Oh, okay.
Can we
Is
go
that
to
all
the
right
next
with
one?
is that all right with everyone? Do we know when he'll be here? Okay.
Nope, I just said we would try to hold him off as long as possible.
Okay, let's, we can table 1 University Lane for a little while. So we'll go to a new notice of intent for 248 Princeton Street, construction of townhouses. Chris, could you read that one?
Sure, Dave. Here's the legal notice. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, the Town of Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a remote public hearing on Tuesday, January 19th, 2021 at 7 p.m. to consider the following application. Under the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Chelmsford Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 187, the Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a virtual public meeting for a notice of intent filed by Dennis Page. The applicant wishes to raise an existing building and construct 2 new townhouse buildings at 248 Princeton Street. Work will take place within 100 feet of a wetland.
The notice says to construct 2 new townhouses? What about the construction in the back?
That's not correct, actually.
The notice,
It's out of jurisdiction.
I'm sorry?
Those are out of jurisdiction.
Well, there are 4 of them that appear
They're
to
not within jurisdiction.
There are 4 of, well, yeah. There are 4 units, but 2
Right.
structures that will be within the,
Right.
okay, so yeah, you've got it. It's 2 structures
Okay,
that will
good.
be there.
But you're gonna get the right documentation, correct, Katie? If we just act on the 2?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Is the applicant here? Could, if he is or she is, could they make a presentation on, these are the 2 townhouses that are right on Princeton Street, almost where the Glenview is.
This is Steve Erickson. I'm representing the applicant.
Hi,
And
Steve.
This is the Glenview property.
Right.
So the Glenview is closed. We're going to construct those 2 units, 4 units with 2 structures. We're going to be infiltrating all of the rooftop runoff. On the entire site, we've actually got some 47% reduction of impervious area, even though most of the site is outside of the buffer zone. We've got the street separating us from the wetland area. So the odds of anything happening to the wetland are extremely slim. Obviously, we'll be removing the pavement and replanting the area and landscaping and everything else. So I think it's overall a significant improvement over the existing structure.
Steve, you want to talk a little, Steve, this is Dave, you want to talk a little bit about how you're going to protect any runoff from the site going across Princeton Street and into the wetlands?
Sure, we've got a storm scepter going in to collect the water. That's going to go into we have a rooftop infiltration area and a storm scepter and a deep sump catch basin that will take the runoff from the units. So that's about all we need. We are putting erosion controls up.
Well, during construction, correct?
Yes. But since we are across the street is 50 feet wide, and
Are there storm drains in the street? I assume there are.
there are storm drains in the street. Actually, if you look at the plan, you can see one on the left-hand side or southwest of the property. We can put silt socks in there.
Well, that was one of my comments. I think you referenced hay bales, don't you? And is that correct or not?
Actually, we'll be using straw wattles, but we can put silt sack in those catch basins.
Well, yes, you should do that. Straw wattles are fine. No, as you know, no hay bales.
Yeah, Christina has a letter and she suggested silt sacks in the catch basins.
That letter came came this afternoon, correct?
Correct.
I didn't get a chance to read it. Did the rest of you read the letter from the town engineer? If you didn't, Katie, maybe you could just go over the points for everybody.
So basically, she said it's a improvement in stormwater drainage system because of the 47% reduction in impervious. She said there'll be soil test pits required, overseen by the engineering division for the underground recharge chambers. And the operations and maintenance plan should be revised to include maintenance of the roof drain recharge. That should be sent to engineering. And then she said silt sacks and catch basins. And other than that, it's mainly engineering that needs some,
Steve, do you
revision.
have any problems with her recommendations from the engineer?
None of that. That's all well and good.
So we'll include that when we get to that point. Couple other quick questions and I'll open it up to the conservation members. Is there a demolition plan that's available?
The structure itself, pretty sure, is outside of the buffer zone. But they will be going through, of course, the building department, Board of Health, and the normal procedures for demolition of the
The
structure.
Glenview restaurant is outside the 100-foot?
I believe so. The plan that I have doesn't actually show that structure.
Well, it looks like the front half of the building is within 100 feet. Anyhow, you must have a demolition plan. Can you share it with us? Is that coming down in a day? Is it going to take a week?
No, that'll come down in a day.
Are you putting up chain link fences around it? Are you doing anything to abate possible wind blow of debris?
No, we've got to have the building has to be inspected for asbestos or any other kind of hazardous waste. It has to get a permit from the Board of Health, but the structure isn't that large. We'll have it taken down in a day and it'll be dumped into dumpsters and hauled off site. It may take a couple of days at most, but it's not going to be exposed or out in the open for a very long period of time at all.
What's the construction sequence? Demolition, then site, what kind of site? I take you'll do site work first?
Yeah, we'll have to take up the pavement and excavate for the foundations and everything else. That will be the first part of the work.
Where are you going to store materials and equipment?
That can all be stored outside of the buffer zone.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, there's actually plenty of room on site outside the buffer zone.
Okay. And how about snow removal?
There's plenty of room on the side of the landscape area to put snow. It's not an overly developed site.
So you're planning to leave this, any snow removal is going to stay on site?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, questions? Chris? Garahan?
No, Dave, I mean, it sounds like it's from an environmental perspective, it's going to be a significant improvement on the site. So I have no questions.
Billy Vines?
I just agree with the silt sacks, Dave, on the existing catch basins prior to demolition.
Yeah. Chris Tamula?
Dave, you asked most of the questions I was going to ask, so I'm good.
Carl Bischoff?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm all right.
Mark Gibbs?
I don't see anything that sticks out, no. But he asked the question, somebody asked the questions about the silt sack and the fencing to keep down litter in a windy area, just to catch it and keep it on site. And the snow, you addressed that being in the landscaped areas, but not within a 100-foot buffer. So, no, I got nothing.
Hey, Steve, who's the builder?
Dennis Page and Dave Trehan will be the builders.
Is he related to our Congresswoman?
You might say so.
Well, that's good in case we have any problems.
Yeah, you won't have any problems.
No. I apologize. I didn't mean that.
They do very clean construction.
I don't want to suggest that there is any issue there.
They do very clean construction. We oversee several of their sites, and I'm impressed by the quality of work.
Okay, are there any questions from the audience on the application for 248 Princeton Street? At least the neighbors are probably going to get a quieter neighborhood. All right, so I heard a couple of special conditions. One was the silt sacks on the catch basins during construction. The other was to have some kind of temporary fencing to keep down dust and materials during demolition. And that was those were the, in our standard conditions, Katie, we talk about no washout of cement, right?
Yeah, we added that a couple years ago per
Okay,
Mark's request.
so
Yep.
that's in there. Any other special conditions, guys?
Just about snow stockpiling it or removal and
Yeah,
Okay,
that can all be outside the buffer zone.
right.
anything else? All right, I will entertain a motion to issue a standard order of conditions plus special conditions as so noted for 248 Princeton Street.
Dave, make a motion for the order of conditions with the 3 special conditions. First one being that any snow be stockpiled outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. And that number 2, that we have some temporary fencing to prevent litter and debris from blowing off the property to neighboring properties. And then in the third condition, special condition was actually, it just slips my mind for a moment. What was that third one?
Install silt sacks prior to demolition.
Yeah, the silt, exactly, the silt sacks around the catch basins during the prior to the demolition and through the demolition stage of the project.
Can I have a second for that motion?
Second.
Any discussion? I have one other question, Steve. What did you and your client do to mitigate the need for water on the site? Not for consumption by humans, but for landscaping. Was there any conscious thought to reduce the amount of water that was consumed?
You mean in terms of something like irrigation at all?
Irrigation for the landscaping, correct?
Yeah, it's actually not a heck of a lot of area. It's like 32,000 square feet altogether. So no, we didn't, it isn't enough area to justify putting in a private well or anything.
Okay, that's something, guys, that's something that we talked about 10, 15 years ago about making a conscious effort to reduce the need and the requirement for water on landscaping. We never really have pursued that particularly aggressively. I think that maybe in our list of requirements for submission of a notice of intent, we ought to ask the question, what has the applicant done to reduce the need for water consumption in the landscaping plan? Just as a question to see.
Is there any guidelines for us to follow?
No, we kind of adopted it as a offhand regulation, but it's not articulated. There certainly are plenty of standards about how do you landscape with minimal water consumption. I'm not aware, I could not show you the reference, but I think, and Steve's answer was, I think was satisfactory for this application. So we'll take a look at what our regulations say going forward. Any other discussion on this motion and second? All in favor? Chris Garahan?
Aye.
Billy Vines?
Aye.
Chris Tamula?
Aye.
Carl Bishop?
Aye.
Mark Gibbs?
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin? Aye. Passes. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, gentlemen, ladies. Have a good night.
Have a good night, Steve.
Did the party from One University Lane come in yet?
Yep, he's here.
Okay. Chris, do you want to read the notice for One University Lane, please?
Yes, Dave, the legal notice. Under the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protections Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Chelmsford Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 187, the Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a virtual public meeting on January 19, 2021 at 7 PM for a notice of intent filed by Kathleen Riccardi. The applicant wishes to construct an addition at 1 University Lane. Work will take place within 100 feet of a wetland. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Do you want to tell us what you're going to do?
I'd love to. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Brian Melissi with Whitman and Bingham Associates. Here representing Kathleen Riccardi, who's the property owner at 1 University Ave. Very quick point of order, Mr. Chair. I do have the green cards for the abutter notifications. I did scan copies and send them over to Katie. Just wanted to let you know that I do have those. If you need the originals for your files, I can make those available.
That's Katie's decision.
So what we're in front of you tonight, we're in front of you tonight with a notice of intent for a building addition at 1 University Ave. I do have a copy of the plan, Katie, if you want to allow me to screen share. Otherwise, if somebody else has that.
Should be all set.
Go ahead. We lost you.
I did. Let me get this up.
There you are. Got your back. Got your back.
There we go. How's that?
That's good.
Everybody see that?
You're kind of fuzzy. You're kind of fuzzy, but you are kind of fuzzy.
I do that on purpose.
I don't see a plan. Does anybody else see a plan?
I don't see anything.
Oh, I have it up on my screen.
Well, we got the handout, right? But we need to show it to the public.
How's that?
Try exiting it.
There we go.
There it is. There we go.
Learn something every day. So again, this is the copy of the plan that was included in the NOI. University Land is located here at the bottom of the page. Biscayne Drive here. There's an existing single-family dwelling located here. And we are putting on a proposed garage and a building addition in this location here. This piece of property kind of has the gamut. It's got a BVW system, or boring vegetated wetland system. It has a riverfront area associated with River Meadow Brook. It also has some floodplain associated with River Meadow Brook. We do need a waiver to the 50-foot no structure zone. If we zoom in here and I figure out how I can do that.
Brian, how old?
The lot's undersized.
Yeah, how GIS says the lot is 0.61 acres. I saw something that's in your paper that said it was more than that. How big in your plans it says the lot area is 2.5 acres, but GIS says it's 0.6.
Right here, lot area is 0.61 acres.
So Katie's comment is correct. You're under 40,000 square feet, right?
And we don't need the waiver. I just wanted to bring that up.
How old is the existing building?
For the assessor's records, the original dwelling was built in 1962.
So in that sense, it's also grandfathered.
I should point out at the beginning, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, that Kathleen has gone to the Zoning Board of Appeals with this proposal and has received relief. So we do have our zoning relief for a deficient side yard offset along this property line here.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see that there's a garage here. We are going to add just a little bit of pavement in order to square off that driveway to the front of the garage. And there's a proposed addition behind it.
What are you doing about runoff on the addition? Anything?
As a single-family home, we're not providing any structural runoff BMP at all.
So it's just going onto the ground?
Correct.
Okay.
The good news is it's not going to be lawn anymore, so it won't be fertilized or it won't be mowed or anything like that anymore. And roof runoff is considered uncontaminated, but we are proposing just to let that fall onto the ground.
Is the construction require or going to have a foundation on it? And how deep will the foundation be?
I believe it's just going to be Kathleen, pipe in here, but I believe it's just going to be on it's just going to be a crawl space. It's going to be a slab construction.
No, it is going to be a full foundation.
Okay, so
underneath the, so there is a full foundation.
Yes.
So Kathleen, so what are you going to do? Can I have your name, when you answer, can I have your name and address too? So what are you going to do with the material you take out to dig the foundation? You going to take it off-site or are you going to use it?
He's going to take, he's going to take it off-site.
Okay.
But we don't use the fill in the garage. We'll have to take it off-site.
Okay. Any landscaping going to be required around the back of the proposed addition, which is closer to the wetlands, or is it just, is the backyard pretty flat?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a slope to it. You'll see on the plan, Mr. Chair, that there's an existing chain link fence here, which demarks the backyard now. So the proposal is just to have that backyard remain as it is.
So no landscaping done in the back?
Oh, it'll be grass.
Yeah.
There's nothing proposed on the plan.
Correct.
We're trying to stay as much out of that 25-foot no disturb zone as possible.
Were there any plans for a swimming pool on this site?
We had a pool on there years ago. We had gone to the Conservation Committee and got approval for a pool,
Okay,
above ground pool.
But that's not on this proposal. Okay,
No, and that's been since taken down.
fine. Okay, questions? Chris Garahan.
Yeah, I just wanted to, so there's going to be no work in the 25-foot no disturb zone. Is that what I'm hearing?
So what we're in, at the closest point of the foundation, we're 26.5 feet from the edge of the wetland. And so you'll see, I have some, the limit of erosion control here. Again, just to be able to get in and around here and side it and whatnot. So there'll be some temporary encroachment onto that area. But once everything's said and done, we're on the very edge, but we are out of the 25-foot.
So are you going to be working in the 25-foot area as you build the addition?
Well, again, in order to get around the addition, to side it, to strip forms and whatnot, we're going to definitely have to get into that area right over here.
So Katie, we should waive 25 foot just for construction purposes only, correct? Katie? Katie? Hello?
Yeah, I can't. I'm having a hard time. Yes, it would be a
Okay.
temporary.
And since the closest point for the addition is 26.5, I think we need to waive the 30-foot no impervious. Is that correct? But we don't have to waive the 50-foot because it's not covered.
Right.
Well, maybe the 30-foot's not covered either.
I don't think so.
Okay. What was the comment we had, Katie, from someone in the neighborhood? Did Mr. Lowe have a comment?
No, that's a different neighborhood for the next meeting.
Oh, okay.
He had the wrong hearing date.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Katie, do you have comments on this application?
Now that I know it's full foundation, I would be ask about dewatering potential since it's so close to the wetland.
Brian, you may not know anything about that because it sounded like you just heard there was going to be a full foundation.
Correct. But again, if there is any dewatering that's going to be required, I can amend the plan, Katie, to show a small dewatering area up here.
Well, you also got to make sure the basement is high enough up too, right?
Correct.
You don't want water in the cellar. And have you not looked at that? Do you want some time to double check to make sure the cellar's going to be above the water?
No, I don't. I think we're pretty good to go. I mean, again, the finished floor is up around that 116 area. So the bottom of the basement is going to be around that 109, 108 contour here. Obviously, we're going to want to put a footing drain in, and I can amend that to the plan to show where the footing drain is going to outlet to.
Is the applicant still here?
Yes, I am.
Have you got concerns about your basement being wet?
I don't have concerns because one of the builders that I spoke to said about putting in a sump pump just to be safe. I mean, I don't know.
Okay, Mark Gibbs, what do you think?
I think that, perimeter drain is in order here. And the basement floor should be crushed stone. But I'm not the builder. I'm not going to suggest that.
Right, well, no, they already did say crushed stone. He did tell me that, crushed stone.
I'm a little concerned about the elevation too on the basement floor. But if Brian feels comfortable with it, that's fine.
Okay.
There's probably gonna be a sump pump in this. So you're gonna have to
That's yeah, that's what she said.
Constantly, not constantly when you need to.
Because that stream can overflow, right? At least historically.
Yeah, it's the flood
Is
zone.
that the one that goes under Warren? That goes under Warren Ave, right?
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
the flood zone hugs the addition.
I'm sorry, Katie, we just did it.
Right around the back of it.
Yeah.
100-year flood elevation in this area is 111.1, which comes right through here.
Yeah, and, right. Okay. Chris Garahan, anything else?
No, that's it for now, Dave.
Billy Vines.
I'd be concerned about the elevation of the floor. That's, you may want to, when you change your mind, when you get some equipment out there and dig a hole, find out where the water is. I'd be concerned about that, but
thank you.
It's up to you.
Anything else, Billy?
No.
Chris? Kamula?
No, I have the same concerns, but I'm all set otherwise.
Carl Bischoff?
Just if you're gonna have a sump pump, have a battery backup or a generator, but other than that, I think I'm good.
I take it you're going to be hooked up to town sewer?
Yes.
Correct.
You're not past that. Mark Gibbs, you have anything else to say?
No, that's my concern is the elevation of the basement floor. Nobody seems to be concerned about.
Positive response?
Go ahead.
Do you want a positive response before we approve this?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Malesi said he was pretty confident, so he's got the stamp. I don't.
We'll have a belt and suspenders approach with a sump pit and a sump pump, as well as the footing drain. So if when those high tides come, I think we'd be able to keep up with it.
I'm not a big concern about the roof runoff at the Caltech because it's clean water. I don't really care about that. So no, I got nothing.
How about we pin the foundation, Dave?
Oh, that's a good point, Billy. You're right.
To make sure it does not. Do you hear what he said, Brian?
I did. And yeah, typically when we deal with ZBA variances, we strongly suggest that to our clients as well. But if it goes in the order, even better.
Okay, are there any comments or questions from the audience on 1 University Avenue? Excuse me, 1 University Lane. Hearing none, I'll entertain an order of conditions with our standard order.
Hey, Dave?
Yeah.
Well, you might want to do the waiver of the 25-foot first.
Yeah, well, Katie, do we need a 25-foot waiver since it's outside of the 50-foot?
Yeah, they said they're going to be temporarily working in it.
I understand that, but they don't fall under our 50-foot no build.
Yeah, we don't need a 50-foot waiver, but we need to waive the 25 for temporary.
That's independent of how old or the size of the lot, correct?
Right.
Yep.
Right.
All right.
So Dave, I make a motion then that we waive the 25-foot no disturbance zone temporarily to enable the construction.
During construction.
During construction.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
Second by Chris Tamula. Is there any discussion? All in favor of waiving the 25-foot no disturbance temporarily during construction, say aye. Chris Garahan?
Aye.
Bill Vines,
Aye.
Chris Tamula,
Aye.
Carl Bischoff,
Aye.
Mark Gibbs,
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin, aye. Back to the main motion of issuing our standard order of conditions with, with,
In the foundation, Dave.
with a special, right, with a special condition of pinning the foundation prior to at construction time.
And
think
we
that's
need
the-
a DEP file number.
Ah,
So it's pending a
make that-
file number.
okay, pending a DE. Brian, you got one in process?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. It's in the system. They cashed the check on December 24th. They said they're still waiting for the fee. We made a couple phone calls today to DEP to no avail, but I would expect that any day now.
Okay, so this motion is subject to receiving, conservation agent receiving a DEP file number. Okay, can I have that motion with the standard order and the one special order?
So moved, Dave.
So moved by Chris Garahan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Chris Garahan,
Aye.
Bill Vines,
Aye.
Chris Tamula,
Aye.
Carl Bischoff,
Aye.
Mark Gibbs,
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin, aye. Passes. Thank you.
I
Thank you very
appreciate your
much.
time. Katie and the commission, I appreciate you letting me bounce to the end. Sorry about that, Kathy. I'll make it up to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll go to some land management business if we could, guys. First item on the agenda is to verify a couple of new trails at the Cranberry Bog. Those of you who, and there's one map here, and I don't know, Katie, can you get that up on the screen?
I can, just give me a few minutes. Keep talking.
Okay, those of you who have been out of the Cranberry Bog, for a number of years, there is one main trail from the dam that goes straight through the reservation to Carlisle. But over that time period, and maybe even longer than 20 years, people have trailblazed along the outside of that main parcel of land and created trails along the water's edge. We've had a couple of 2 or 3 attempts to try to get people to stop using those trails to no avail. We have put up signs, we have dumped brush in the trails. In fact, there is some gentleman who is described as the Santa Claus of Carlisle because of his white beard, who has kept these trails fairly clean. The reason that we wanted to keep them or to decommission them as unauthorized trails is some people were concerned about the human impact on wildlife by using those 2 trails on the outside. Well, they've been used for 20, 25 years with, I do not perceive any adverse impact on wildlife. I mean, it's not like people are walking on Route 3 out there. I think the simplest thing and the smartest thing to do now is to make them official trails, mark them accordingly, get them added to our reservation map for the Cranberry Bog, and have costs maintain them, and also move them further away from the water. Some of the trails actually go up to water's edge. And I think consistent with our 25-foot no disturbance, we should direct costs where possible to move those trails away from water's edge. Were you able to get the map, Katie, or not?
You see it?
Yeah, just move it up a bit if you could. Can you move it up or make it smaller? There we go. As you can see, the main trail through the Cranberry Reservation is the dotted line in the middle that comes from the top of your screen down towards Carlisle. The cross trail is in Carlisle. That's where the power lines are pretty much, across the Carlisle Cranberry Reservation. People are coming in from Carlisle and walking along either side of that land right on the water. As you can see, there's water's edge on both sides. And those are the trails that we just can't get people to stop using. So I think the smartest thing is to make them official and maintain them. Incidentally, they are showing up as trails on independent websites. So, and as I said, I don't think it's doing dramatically bad things to that area. Any comments or thoughts?
So Dave, I'll confess, I have walked those trails many times, and I have no problem with it. I agree with, where possible, trying to pull them back to 25 feet, but where it's practical.
Yeah, and actually those trails give a fantastic view of the
really
Cranberry Reservation.
Yep. But I think they've been used for years and years and years. So don't fight City Hall or something like that.
Yeah, but we are City Hall.
I know. Don't
Any
fight
other
people.
any other comments or thoughts?
It sounds good to me, Dave.
Any comments or thoughts from the audience on our proposal? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to create 2 new trails at the Cranberry Bog Reservation along the water's edge as denoted on the map submitted.
So moved, Dave.
So moved by Chris Gary.
Second.
I'm sorry?
Second?
Is there a second?
Yep.
Mark.
Yeah, second by Mark. Any discussion? All in favor? Chris?
Aye.
Billy?
Aye.
Chris Tamula?
Aye.
Carl Bischoff?
Aye.
Mark Gibbs?
Aye.
Myself? Aye. Passed. Okay, next item on the agenda is, we have a request. Let me get rid of this one first, Carl, before you do the warrant poll thing. We have a request from a new organization in town called the Chelmsford Climate Action Team, who is promoting renewable energy around town with a couple of, they got one committee, they're working with the town. They've asked us if they could post the attached flyer that is in your pack on conservation land. Historically, we have not allowed advertising on conservation land. We have allowed notices. Is that a cat or a kid?
Oh, it's a cat.
We have allowed notices to be posted in our kiosks. Some of the notices pertain to looking out for ticks and other stuff like that. I think we have to be careful that we don't let this get away from us, that every organization in town wants to post some notice on conservation land. But I certainly think that this is pretty consistent with a lot of the ideals of conservation. So I'm of a mind to allow them to do it and give them permission to only put them in the kiosks. I don't think they should be nailed up on trees or anything like that.
No?
Yeah, Mr. Amiro is on the call. He's the one that made the request.
I'm sorry?
Mr. Tom Amiro is on the call. He's got.
Hey, Tom.
Hi.
Hey, Tom, would you like to say something?
Sure.
yeah, to reassure you, definitely, I would like to put them in the kiosks. And sometimes I've gone to all of the trailheads and looked at them. And if they do have a protective cover, kind of like a case, um, who should who would be the contact person, to open that up?
I don't think any of them actually have locks on them anymore.
Oh, okay.
Either you can swing it open,
Yeah.
or in some cases, the plexiglass actually lifts out, or you can actually, there's some nails holding it in place. You can remove the
Okay.
nails and put them back
Right.
in because you're right. You'd want to get them behind the plexiglass to stay dry.
Right. Well, and I've laminated them
Well, that
for
helps.
double protection. But yeah, and I'd just like to add that it really does go hand in hand with conservation. I mean, this isn't an advertisement for a money-making program. It's for a town. The Chelmsford Choice Electric Aggregation is really a benefit to the residents of the community. And the fact that it does have a couple green options does allow people who are concerned about climate change and would like to help reduce greenhouse gas emissions could do so by opting for one of the green options. And so,
Is this part of the Chelmsford town contract?
yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And the thing is that the new contract has a middle tier, 50% clean electricity that didn't exist before. It was all or none.
Okay. Very good.
And the problem is there hasn't been hardly any what do you call it, distribution of information about the program yet. But the next mailing of the tax bills, I'm told, will include some information. And the reason that I've come to you to ask permission is that I thought that, I mean, not that we'll reach a lot of people this way, but the kind of people who use the trails, like myself and like you folks who have done all this work to make these beautiful trails available for are concerned about the environment and are more likely to be interested in doing something such as opting up to a green choice in the Chelmsford Choice program. And so conservation land goes hand in hand with not generating emissions through, electricity generation, but sequestering carbon emissions that are in the atmosphere already. So the more conservation land we have, I mean, the better. And the less greenhouse gases we produce or generate to begin with, the better. So yes, so I really appreciate it. If you would let us, post those notices. And did everybody take a look at it? Did you get a chance to see it, or?
Yeah, it was a handout to the commissioners.
Oh, thank you very much.
As well as your email. Are there any other comments from the Conservation Commission?
So my only thought is I'm in agreement with this. I think it's a good idea. I think, Dave, your early comment about being careful about what we do allow is important, that not necessarily here and tonight, but we think about at what point would we draw the line and say, no, we're not adding stuff. The kiosks aren't unlimited. We haven't had a lot of requests, but it's something we might want to think about is what do we accept and what don't we accept?
Fair point. Any other comments?
David, I had one, please. Linda Carney at 17 Hildreth Street. We walk the trails in town, and I'm just wondering if this is a one-time exception for them, or if you're setting precedent for this organization.
Well,
I don't have anything against it. I'm just curious.
I think what the commission will do is it will evaluate, and until we do what Carl said, which is actually write up a policy, which I don't think we need quite now. I do think we need to be aware that we may need one. But until that happens, I think we will evaluate them on a one-off basis. I would ask that this organization take these flyers down within a certain period of time, maybe 6 months or whatever. One of the things you don't want is you don't want these, you don't want notices being on the kiosk forever. But your comment, Ms. Carney, is an appropriate one. We don't want to let, as Carl said, we don't want to let this get away from us. And I don't think it will, but we need to be aware of it.
I'd like to say the 6 months makes sense because this program is open-ended. It actually goes for 3 years. But if you don't catch people pretty much in the initial phases, you probably never are going to, get them interested. So
Right.
six months would be good.
Any other comments from the audience?
Could I ask a question?
Yep.
On this handout that we received, is that the size of the pamphlet that's going to go inside of the kiosk?
That's 8.5 by 11.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't like you even put a big banner up or anything.
No.
Okay. All right.
8.5 by 11 laminated and exactly what that PDF shows.
Okay.
It's meant to be, a bulletin, a notice. The key thing is the website. It's not meant to be something people are going to spend time reading and with a lot of content.
Right. It's kind of like an FYI when you're in the park, you'll see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to allow the posting of a Chelmsford Choice notice called Concerned About Climate Change to be posted in our kiosks for months at a time, after which they'll be taken down, and that they will be no larger or smaller than 8.5 by 11, and that they will be laminated. Is that good enough? Can I have a second to that?
Dave, I'll make that motion then.
Okay.
And, let's have an effective date. Why don't we have, just run it effective. So we'll have them, they can put them up now and then take them down, say July 19th, 2021, to be specific.
Make them effective February 1st and take them down on August 1st.
Very good.
Sounds good.
Because they'll need to get organized. Is there a second to Chris's memo, a motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Carl. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Cascarahan?
Aye.
Bill Vines?
Aye.
Chris Tamula?
Aye.
Carl Bischoff?
Aye.
Mark Gibbs?
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin? Aye. Passed. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is just an update of where we stand on Warren Pole Reservation. Carl?
Okay, so a lot going on there. Unfortunately, I think we covered that we did not get Acton Road to work for parking access. I think we said that at the last meeting because it's too wet. The wetlands consultant that DPW worked with said it just cannot work, even though we have a pervious road. So at the moment, we are looking at Boston Road and Parker Road, expanding the right reservation, as well as probably a walk-in area near the pump station at Bartlett. So the idea being that access would be from multi-sides so that we don't get too many people at one side. We are putting a request for funding to CPC on Thursday night for based on a quote from Steve Yonley, a price for doing that work to make that all up to snuff and make it ADA compliant, et cetera. This is a little unfortunate that we're in this situation because we really were hoping that Acton Road would work, because that really would be the least, what's the word? The least disruptive to neighborhoods, and we were hoping
more
that would
visible.
work. Haying, we are in discussions with Caroline Parley about, as well as Mark Duffy, about having the fields cut to maintain the open vista. So we met with her, Mark and Dave and I were out there Sunday, I think it was Sunday, yeah, Sunday. And Henry Parley was there as well. And we had a good discussion, and we would need to have some field prep done, rock removal, cleanup, planting, invasive removal. But it looked like that was a very doable situation. She was enthusiastic about doing this, as well as doing some ongoing maintenance along the walls. So that was a good, the next step there is I'm working on a contract that she and I will have some discussions, but ultimately it will go to Paul Cohen and Town Council to be formalized, but we're working forward on that. And then finally, the conservation restriction. I've been in touch with Dale today, talked to Dale Williams today, number of times. I do have a copy of an initial conservation restriction, but it's very basic boilerplate. So he's working with a lawyer on creating this. He did not have an updated version since the one I got in early, I think it was early December. So it's not much. It's just a template. Dave, what have I forgotten? There's a lot of stuff going on.
Tonight we submitted a request to the Community Preservation Committee for funds. And we need to go through that with you guys. We have a budget right now that totals $58,000. And I have sent it around to Mark and to Carl. I'll send it around to all of you. The big ticket items are the parking lots. The one at Boston Road, DPW is estimating to be about 11,500. The one at Wright Reservation, which requires much more excavation, is at 21,000 for a total of $32,000. The other big ticket item is there's a new electrical hookup. The electricity was provided to the site from the Pole household. So we had to put in new electricity. That's $7 grand. We're going to need a granite sign somewhere. The estimate is about $5,500. I've got a $5,300 contingency budget in here. And of the total, it's 58 grand. We're going to ask CPC for 37,000, and we will look to the Wright Trust Fund. Some of you new members are unaware. When the Wright Reservation was given to the town back in the 30s, 40s, a trust fund was set up with some money in it to maintain the Wright Reservation. That trust fund now has about $50,000 in it, and it's available to be used for conservation and improvements of Wright Reservation. So I would see, and we've never taken money out of the trust fund, but that to me is a good use for it. The parking is problematic, as Carl mentioned. It's going to be a little difficult to get in from Boston Road in terms of width of the road to get in, and also in terms of the location of the entrance. It's going to be a little difficult to cross Parker Road at Wright Reservation. And I suspect that we probably should have public hearings on those two sites. And I suspect the neighbors are not going to be particularly happy with that. But I think it can work, because if we have two smaller parking lots, it will disperse the traffic to two different locations, so there won't be a huge congestion of parking for the reservation.
We hope.
We're gonna have to, we will There's a presentation to the Board of Selectmen by Carl and myself this coming Monday. It may be delayed depending on their schedule.
Yeah. I
That
think-
presentation is included as part of the submission to CPC. In terms of, just quickly, in terms of the mowing, it's my choice to give the work to a Chelmsford resident if we can. It's not our intention to raise money from mowing. So we're not going to charge somebody to mow the fields. On the other hand, they will incur costs to mow it. They will have to, as Carl said, they're going to have to remove quite a few stones. They're going to have to improve the quality of the dirt. So they're going to have to make an investment. And to that end, at this point, we're thinking of a contract that may be a 5-year contract with a 5-year option to renew. And there'll be plenty of protection and disclaimers in that as well. Conservation restriction, we need to take a hold of it a little bit better. I think I want to control the budget because some money's going to have to be spent. I've only got $2,000 in that number I gave you to hire a consultant to help draft the conservation restriction. And frankly, I don't think the people that hold the conservation restriction should draft it. I think the people who are being held accountable should draft the restriction. But then it becomes a matter of negotiation. So those are the big items, I think. That's all I had to add. We need to talk about how we will approve spending money going forward. Probably we ought to approve it by line item as it comes up, because not all of this money is going to be spent on day one. It's probably going to take a couple of years. There's just the quick line items, the conservation restriction. There's a site survey that's needed. The parking lots, 2 of them. The wetland flagging has to be done, which was done by Brian, as a matter of fact. We think we need 2 fire gates onto the site. We need the electrical hookup. We've got to replace the fire hydrant and the water hookup. We've got to condition the road in from Boston Road. We've got to create a trail and fencing across Parker Road and into Warren Pole. We've got to mark trails. We got to determine and build handicap trails and parking to the extent that we can. And we need to purchase 2 kiosks. We've got the granite sign that I mentioned. We got general signage, and that's the total that adds up fast. So, and we have a history of the site that we're going to have to work up with, probably with Becky Warren. So you're welcome to watch us on Monday night. If we check the selectmen's agenda to make sure we're on there. We've got a notice. We were advised today that we might not make the cut for Monday night. Any questions on what we're doing so we're not getting in trouble? And anybody that wants to help is willing. We got Mark and Carl are doing a great job on this.
Carl is.
Oh, it's fine.
Okay, Katie, do you have anything that needs to be brought up for us? We're going to need to sign the ORAD. We're going to need to sign the NOI for Princeton Street and for University Lane. So that'll be available, what, next Monday in your office?
No, I'll have them out tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So
Tomorrow by noon, I'd say.
She puts them on her table outside of her office so you can wander in and sign them, please.
Dave, we wanted to bring up maybe including the event registration in our land use, because we had a little mix up last week.
Well, yeah. We discovered that a group of people were planning to use the Thanksgiving Forest for a function, and it was unbeknownst to both Katie Messer and myself. We have a form that we ask people to fill out if they want to use the reservation, so that we make sure that fire permits are received if they're necessary and other sorts of things like that. It turns out we've got the form for people, but we never wrote it up as a regulation in our bountiful pieces of paper. So I think we need to add to our regulations this, because the person who was going to use Russell Mills said, I didn't know you had a regulation about that. And if it's not in writing somewhere, that's probably a fair criticism. So I'd like Katie and I to draft a simple regulation. We'll present it before you guys at the next meeting.
Sounds good.
Anything else? Do you have anything else, Katie?
We just have some minutes to do.
Do we need to do anything more on Second Ave?
They will be coming back with an amended notice of intent. That was my last understanding.
Okay. You realize, guys, we did not approve Second Ave, but we didn't vote to deny it.
Yeah, I just kind of didn't like the plan. So they're going to come back with a amended.
Well, we'll get another look at it. Next time, if we deny it, we need a separate vote. I'm not suggesting we should have one, but anything else?
Katie, do you know anything new on the MACC?
Yeah, I saw your email. I'm going to talk to Colleen. We'll definitely get you reimbursed for that. And then I got to get us signed up. I just don't know if I can sign up now or it has to be like fiscal year.
Oh, for us? Or
Yeah, for us, because it comes in during the fiscal year, but we can get you reimbursed for that.
Yeah, okay, all right.
I'll talk to Colleen.
I'd like to get, there's a lot of, I even think it might help to talk to them about the conservation restriction, and it would be nice.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Anything else?
Minutes.
If you all had a chance to look at the minutes for December 15th, December, what? January 5th. That's just 2 sets of minutes. Vivian is very up to date. She is unbelievably attentive. Not only that, she's a nice lady. Do I have any comments or changes or additions to the minutes of December 15th or January 5th? I'll give you a few minutes. I've already read them. Okay, anybody got anything? Just look where you're mentioned. That's all you got to check. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of December 15th and January 5th?
So move.
So moved by Mark. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? People still reading them? We can sit on the motion for a minute.
I'm good.
All in favor? Mark Gibbs?
Aye.
Carl Bischoff?
Aye.
Chris Tamula?
Aye.
Bill Vines?
Aye.
Chris Garahan?
Aye.
Dave McLaughlin, aye. Anything else to come before the board? Next meeting is February 2nd. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
I'll second it.
I don't think we need a second motion to adjourn. I think we just have to vote on it. All in favor? Unanimous, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Like,
Done.
I'll remember you all when I win the Mega Millions tonight.
Oh.
The mega billions.
I'll take.